quantum hypnosis healing therapy is, it's a type of hypnosis that you are actually quite conscious for, okay? Now, a lot of hypnosis, they want you deep, 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 deep into the subconscious mind. Well, nothing new is going on in the subconscious mind, okay? It's just basically everything that's been recorded since the day of your first inception. And so we really don't want to necessarily dive into the subconscious mind because there's no new information there. If anything, we don't want to focus too much on that. We want to record over that, and we want to expand you as a spiritual being. So first and foremost, does anybody here not understand what quantum means? Because I know that's kind of what... Okay, so basically quantum is a totality of the all. So if you're talking quantum numbers, you're talking about all, meaning they never end. So it's time-space continuum. It's everything. It's time. It's space. It's none of them. So quantum is everything you could ever imagine. Okay, so it's the all. It's the totality of the universe, or even past that. So when you're doing a regular hypnosis that's not quantum-based, you're isolating on a subconscious mind. When you're doing a quantum healing hypnosis, you're basically activating the entire universe in that session. Okay? And that's really cool. Because then there's no limits. And when you have no limits, then that soul can really, really expand and become that authentic version of yourself. So hypnosis, the process of it is, I've been doing hypnosis for about 10 years, all different ways. The traditional type of hypnosis that I used to do was to, help people quit smoking or, lose weight or, stop cutting themselves or whatever, But that's basically a process of going back into the subconscious mind and changing a timeline, which is really, really helpful, okay? But we're in accelerated time. So this is a time of evolution. So instead of going in and just maybe stop smoking or working on addiction or something like that, we want to go in and we want to find the bigger version of you. Because the bigger version of you resides in the quantum field. Okay? The quantum field is where the bigger version of you is. Has everyone heard the term in here, higher self? Okay? So your higher self is basically this bigger version of you that's like nudging you along on your spiritual journey. Go this way. And you're going, no! Right? And when you go into this particular hypnosis session, that is who we unlock. And we actually begin to channel that version of you. Now, another really cool thing, because when we're in the quantum field, we are also in the Akashic Records. And when you're in the Akashic Records, every single piece of information about you is in there. So that hypnotherapist can basically guide you into your past lives, into your parallel lives, into your future lives that may be affecting this life. Does that make sense? That's crazy, right? Okay, so I didn't really understand it either until, and here I am with this hypnotherapy training, until I actually had a session. And after I had a session, I was hooked. Because it wasn't anything I expected, but it was everything I expected. Because what I actually came out with was, oh, I knew that all along. But how many times have we done that with ourselves, where we had the answer, but we didn't believe we had the answer? So it really fired up my intuition again. I gave myself some really cool information. I actually went into a parallel life that was affecting this life. Because again, your now is happening now. And time is not linear. Does everybody understand that time's not linear? Okay? So time doesn't work like this. It works kind of like this. And at any given moment, you could be in your childhood, you could be 8 years old, and then 2 minutes later, you could be 35. How many times have you walked around someone and just felt like you were 8 years old? You actually were. You moved in your timeline back to that state where you were insecure, right? And just people coming into your space that have a similar energy can activate that timeline. Okay? So if I walk into a room and I'm feeling really good about myself, and then there's someone there that reminds me of the uncle that used to tell me I was fat when I was a kid, just his energy alone can send me back on my timeline to the time when I felt like I was 8 years old. That's how we know that time is not linear, because we're literally moving back in time and feeling the energy of the past. Now, if I can do that, if I can walk into a room and feel 8 years old, all of a sudden, then there might be other things that are affecting me that have happened in my past lives. Okay, is everybody here kind of open to the concept of reincarnation? Well, what that kind of looks like is something that could have happened in your past life is affecting you right now. And I will tell you that's all we care about here is right now. We don't want to necessarily go and diagnose your past lives for any other reason that it is affecting you right now. And what that would mean to me is, let's take a look at your life. What does your bank account look like? What is your relationship to your family? What is your relationship to yourself? What is your relationship to your friends? Are you doing what you're passionate about every day? Are you living in your divine purpose? Are you joyful? Are you genuinely happy? Are you at ease? And if the answer is no, I would say something from the past is got an anchor to you. Something is anchoring you to the past. Okay? Because, honestly, the right now holds no energy other than right now. So if we get triggered in the now, it is from the past. 100%. Now, everyone here knows that I do a lot of childhood regression that I call time travel. And this is a process where we can actually do past life regression. And what we're going to do is we're going to move into the timeline, and we're going to go back in time, and we're going to go in a hypnotic state where we're going to go into that past life that is basically affecting you now. And I'll give you an example of what that could look like. I've been a nutritionist for 20 years. My master's degree is biochemistry. I'm kind of a body geek. I really understand the flow and energy systems of the body. And I had a nutrition client who was just getting crazy migraines. Crazy migraines. And nothing helped. We did childhood regression. We changed her diet. We changed a whole bunch of things in her life. Nothing, right? Then she has a process like this where she goes back into a regression process into her past life. And we find that she was beheaded. Okay? Which, as soon as she realized that, her migraines went away. So the pain of what she was going on with today, and it's funny because where she worked was a very similar place for where she worked in her older life. Now that could sound really out there and crazy, I know, but that's where I live. So again, it's kind of like, if there is something that a doctor can't figure out, if I can't create money for myself. I can't create a healthy lifestyle. I can't create a healthy body. I can't create healthy relationships. Then I would say, all this action is getting you nowhere. Let's go back to the blueprint. Let's go back to the energy signature of where it started. I'm a big advocate of going and finding the underlying root cause of suffering. And the root cause of suffering is never right. Okay? You're holding on to old energy that's not serving you anymore, and this is one technique that helps you cut that. Because again, as soon as you're aware of it, see, even when she became aware of, oh my gosh, this is how I felt in this past life, as soon as she realized it, it wasn't affecting her anymore. Because as soon as you're aware to anything, it changes. It changes on your timeline. Because awareness is basically the understanding of light. And the only thing that holds us back is the shadow. The only thing that holds us back is the secrets that we keep from ourselves. The only thing that holds us back is our inability to really get to know where we're stuck. Okay? And I know that everybody gets stuck. That's part of human nature. It's very hard to just keep focusing on exactly what you want when it feels like you have roadblocks, right? So when you have roadblocks, I say look for your patterns. Look for things that are happening in your life that seem like Groundhog Day. Different faces, different places, same energy. Meaning everywhere I go, there's that one coworker and she's just out to get me, right? We all have stories like that with our past that have very similar energy. Look at your relationships. Look at your bank account. Look at the energy on that. And I'm not talking about money in this class, but money is a frequency. And it's very important to live here and be free. So if that's not flowing for you, and it's been a constant inability to flow, then I would say let's look there. Let's look for the root cause of the suffering. Okay? Because maybe in a past life you were a healer and you couldn't get paid for it. So now this life you're a healer and you don't feel like you can get paid for it. We've seen that a lot lately, right? Because time is moving a lot faster. So the past is catching up to us. And it's catching up to us so quickly that it can feel very, very overwhelming.
Can you hit multiple things during one session?
Yes. Because I will tell you, everything is connected. So if I go back and I just do a childhood regression on something that happened when I was 8 years old, it probably happened in 6 other lifetimes. But by healing it just in that one process takes care of everything. It's all one line. So I don't have to go heal this thing, and this thing, and this thing. That's why I kind of say, pick your categories. Relationships are all connected. How you feel about yourself is all connected. Losing people is all connected. Money is all connected. Money comes down to value. Like, how do I value myself? That's about money. So when we're looking at that, I say, look at the actual, blockage point, and let's clean up one thing at a time. So in this hypnotic session, how it takes place is, first and foremost, the practitioner is never leading you. Because again, that logical mind of yours wants to give you answers. And it doesn't want there to be empty space because that's just embarrassing. So as you're sitting there in a hypnotic state, right, it's really important that that practitioner not lead you, but guide you. Because as you're being guided, it's like the difference between, tell me what the color blue smells like. Right? Right then your logical mind's like, wait, I didn't know this was a test. Right? But if I said, okay, but it's kind of like, instead of this is, I call you on the phone and I say, hello, I'm waiting for an answer. That's the difference between a leading question and a guiding question. So everything is very, very, very precise in the way that it's asked you while you're in this hypnotic state. Because again, we don't want to activate that logical mind. We want your left brain to stay out of this session. Because your left brain is going, there's no way that I was in India. Right? There's no way I was a man. Right? Because you're gonna be conscious enough to know where you are. Have you guys ever felt that state when you first wake up, where you're kind of like asleep, but you're kind of dreaming? And the dream you're having is like making zero sense. But you're going with it, right? You're absolutely going with it, and you're not questioning it, and you're not judging it. You're just in it, but you're also here. That is exactly what this state feels like. Okay? And that state is actually what's going on in your biochemistry, is you are in a theta brainwave. And a theta brainwave is really slow, and it is the theta brainwave is the brainwave of imagination. Okay? Now that doesn't mean that we're imagining the story. When we're in imagination is actually completely misunderstood. Imagination is the phone line to your higher self. It is access to your parallel dimensions. It is access to your remote viewing other lives. It is your Akashic records. Okay? And as we're little children, we innately know to always be there. Because you know what we're doing? We're really, really activating that muscle that we're going to need to use to generate reality as we get older. Because you actually generate and create your new reality based in your imagination. Okay? So when we're in a theta brain state, a lot of things are happening. First and foremost, your brain is releasing dopamine. So you feel really good. Okay? Kind of like when you eat chocolate cake. For me, anyways. Okay? And so when you're releasing that hormone, the body is calming way down. It's not on edge. It's not on defense. We're not in fight or flight. That's really important. Have you ever done a really, really awesome visualization or been in a deep meditation and just your whole body just felt like warm, liquid goo? That was because the hormone that's making you feel that way is dopamine. Okay? And dopamine is really kind of that hormone that lets your body know, I'm safe, I'm comfortable, I'm loved, I'm at ease. Okay? We want that to be going on while you're in this state. Because again, here you are laying down and you're in a past life. So, again, when you're in that brainwave, a lot of wonderful biochemical things are taking place. You're here, but you're not. Okay? You're free to go back into time, or go sideways in time, or go future in time. Susie did a session last week where her client went into a future life, where she was building a big school. And she was like, oh my gosh, how would I know that, right? So it's really, really fascinating process. I call this brainwave the space between worlds, because that's literally where you are. And you're in that space comfortably enough that your logical mind isn't questioning you. Right? Is that real? Am I happening? Is this happening? That logical mind always wants to be, wait, I want to know what's going on. I want to direct this conversation. So we need to remove that logical mind out of this session and just play in the quantum field. Play in whatever shows up. That's our job as a practitioner, is to not judge and just have that person go anywhere they possibly need to go in order to clean up the now.
How can you keep them in a theta wave, though?
Well, it's, first and foremost, once you're there, okay, it's tone of voice, it's the feeling of the space, it's the words that we say, and as we constantly keep you guided, because all along the way we're guiding you, we're not leading you, like, what does your jacket look like? We're saying, tell me what you see, okay? And as we ask questions, Spirit will answer, okay? So the way that this session unfolds is, first and foremost, there's what's called an interview process. The interview process is basically about building rapport between you and the practitioner. You really got to get your guard down, get your story out there, right? We need names and places in case they show up while you're in your session. Because again, you know, we would say, what do you call your grandmother? Well, I call my grandmother Poppy, because if Poppy shows up in a past life, we want to write that down. Because we're basically taking notes for you this whole time, as well as recording. Because again, you're in and out. And I will tell you, when I had my session, I thought I remembered everything. I don't remember half of it. I was like, what? I missed this part. I listened to it like 8 times because it was so fascinating. After that process happens, basically what we do is we will put this device on you that helps you, because a lot of you guys, how many of you are in here avid meditators? Okay, so not everybody. And if you're not an avid meditator, you have a monkey mind, right? The monkey mind is just blah, 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 constantly going. So this is a device that kind of helps us slow down. This is a device that is called our Mind Fit. And what it does is it puts your brain into a theta state in 29 seconds. And no, it's not bad for you. It's technology, right? We're not using the abacus. We're using the calculator. So this is a way for us to kind of get your brain into that position where you're ready to go into hypnosis. Because again, a lot of people have kind of negative connotations associated with hypnosis. So even when you lay down, you start to ridge up and go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be in control. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to bark like a chicken. Does not happen. So this is a way for you to just calm yourself down. I mean, this device is actually something that we're giving a lot of people who can't meditate, even through guided meditation in classes, is because you can do it in the morning and at night when you are in that theta brainwave, and it will help basically stop your monkey mind. Okay? Because again, basically where you actually are is the space between your thoughts. Your soul resides between your thoughts. So if you can never get between your thoughts, you're never really going to get to know who you are. Okay? So I highly advise you guys coming in and doing a demo on that. We don't charge for that. So we do that, and then we'll actually go into the hypnotic state where the practitioner will take you into 1 to 3 lifetimes, depending on parallel, past, future, whatever that would look like. Again, there's no leading, it's only guiding. Wherever that person goes, that person's going to go. Okay? Now we'll spend about an hour and a half there. This session is about a 5-hour session. It is intense, but it is very, very calming. And after we get through what we feel is that end point for that person, because we're trying to look at body language to see when that person is done, then we actually have what we would call your higher self come in. Okay? Now this is kind of out there again, but this is the act of you channeling you. Okay? Because there is a bigger version of you that's been trying to get your attention your whole life, but your thoughts are too busy, and this voice is very, very soft, and this voice has been trying to tell you, no, go left, and you keep going right. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to sync you up with this voice. We're trying to sync you in with your higher self, and actually for a few minutes step back and allow you to communicate with your higher self through you. And it always happens. You start speaking in we, you start speaking in she, you start speaking in he. It always happens. So we know that the logical mind has taken a step back, and the higher version of you is now speaking through you. And basically you've come in with a prepared list of questions that you want answered by yourself. And we ask those questions to you while you're in this hypnotic state, and therefore you give us the truthful answers. Now a lot of times people get the answers where they're like, duh, I knew that. We're like, well, why are you not listening to yourself? Right? But there is a lot of really cool information. And you know, this work, this particular hypnosis is the work of Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon has been a hypnotherapist for 50 years. She just passed this last year. But she's been doing this for 50 years, and she has written about 19 books on all of these sessions. So if you're curious on what a session looks like, pick up one of her books and read through it, and it's just account and account and account and account and account. And she's had people go into other planets. She's had people be leaves. She's had people be rocks. She's had people be meteorites in these past lives. And she basically has 19 books that hold the account of all of these stories. So we actually went and got all of her training from her personally. Okay? So in her work, she's very, very specific about what is said. Okay? So everything is very, very, very precise, not to get to the person where they not need to go. Okay? So I know it works. I've seen it work. I've seen spontaneous healings happen. Dolores Cannon has healed cancer in a session. Now, she's been doing this for 50 years. I don't know. I wouldn't take on that task. But again, with spirit, all things are possible. And if that person is ready and we show up and move through, that soul wants to do a spontaneous healing on that physical body, it's going to happen. So we never know what to expect in these sessions, just like probably all of you guys' practitioner sessions. We don't know what's going to happen. All we do know is that you're going to get exactly what you need, even if you think you didn't get what you needed. Because again, the logical mind's going to come out and go, wait, what happened? Right? Where was I? I wasn't included? Oh my gosh, this sucked. Right? So that's why we videotape or record everything, because when you get home, you can listen to everything and you can kind of see, okay, I really was there. Okay, this really does make sense. So, okay, I want to kind of explain to you the science, because I know you all have left brains in here, and the left brain is going, I don't buy any of this. So that's why I do this biochem part, so that your left brain can go, okay, maybe I buy it. So basically, I want to explain to you what brainwaves are. When you're in a brainwave, you're basically releasing a certain frequency to the universe, because you are electromagnetic beings, electrons, protons, and neurons, okay? So basically what you are is you're emitting a frequency in your brain constantly to the universe. You're telling a story constantly to the universe, and the universe is going to have things show up that are in alignment with that frequency. So in order for us to shift your reality, clean up your reality, heal your reality, we've got to change the brain waves that are happening. So basically when you're in a gamma brainwave, it's when you're hugging a baby. It's when you're playing with a puppy. It's when you're watching a movie that's just making your heart just overflow. It's the overflowing love feeling. Does everybody have something in their life that allows them to feel that? Okay, and we will all know that with our busy lives, we don't get to feel that much. Right? But that is what the God self feels like. That overwhelming feeling of gooey love is actually who you are. And the fact that we don't get to feel that very much in our day is sad. Because basically what we're releasing is releasing oxytocin. And oxytocin is the hormone that makes you feel like there's so much more in life than this. There's so much more than bills. There's so much more than life. It's like this overflowing love of all. It's ecstatic, it's excitement, it's passion. And you know what? Because people don't get to feel it a lot, they take drugs to make them feel that. The reason that there are narcotics on the planet is because people cannot generate this on their own. They need the pill to make them go really high. When they go really high, that's actually your natural state of being. You're a spirit in a body. So your spirit is like, I want to feel that all the time. So we've got to take baby steps. So for right now, hug your kittens, play with your kids, do as much of that as you can, because that's going to emit the frequency that you actually need to have around you more. Okay? Beta waves. Beta waves is probably where most people are most of the day. I call it the defense, right? Fight or flight. What's happening? Why is that guy cutting me off? That guy just shortchanged me. What's happening? It's like you're in fight or flight. And when you're in fight or flight, you're releasing adrenaline, and you're releasing cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Okay? And you're doing physical damage to the human body when you are in this constantly. We are not supposed to be in this brainwave all day long, yet we do. Why? Oh, because we're worrying about the past, we're worrying about the future in the now. You're not just driving the car. Get cut off. I was worrying about something that happened 2 weeks ago. I'm fearing the future. So I'm literally staying in fight or flight all day long, and I'm burning out my body. And the frequency that I'm telling the universe is, I'm stressed out, I don't have enough, I don't have help, right? Resentment, guilt from the past, fear of the future. So I start to burn out my physical body, and I start to get pain. Okay? Because we're not supposed to stay there all day. We're supposed to be fluctuating all day long. We're supposed to be in our imaginations, then we're supposed to be on the defense. Then we go back into relaxation. Look at a child, right? Look at where a child is. They're all over the place all day long. They look like they're bipolar, right? So 1 minute, they're in their imagination and they're being a unicorn. And the next minute, they're asleep. Next minute, yelling at their sister. And the next minute, they're hugging you and telling you they love you. All in like 3 minutes. So they went through all these different brainwaves in like 3 minutes. And that's actually how you're supposed to experience life. Not stay in beta like all day long. Like, I'm so frustrated, open the door, oh my gosh, there's clothes on the floor, now I'm mad about that, there's laundry. Like, right? There's always things for us to be on edge about. But when we live in that brainwave, what we don't realize is we are communicating to the universe that our life is stressful. And when you tell that to the universe needs to reflect back to you how you're feeling, because it's a vibrational universe. What you put out is what you get back. So if I'm putting out stress, the universe goes, okay, she's saying stress. Let's give her more stress. That's just, it's very literal. It's very this and that, right? It's, okay, she's feeling stress, give her more stress. So it's my job to not be in this beta brainwave all day long, right? If you all have a chiropractor, they've talked to you about fight or flight. Because fight or flight is basically when, this is what happens to your body when you're in fight or flight. So say I'm getting pulled over by a cop. What's going to happen to my body right now? All of my blood is going to leave my immune system, leave my digestion, and move to the outer parts of my body so that I can run away. Because my body doesn't know if I got pulled over by a cop or a lion is chasing me. Same energy, same hormone. But instead, I can't run away from the lion. I have to sit behind this wheel, and I have to take this lashing of my registration being out. So now I'm recycling all that adrenaline, I'm pumping cortisol into my body, and I'm having to stay there and just take it all back in. Okay? Now, driving home, oh my gosh, my husband's going to be upset with me, I got a ticket. I'm staying in fight or flight, even past getting pulled over. Okay, now I'm in 3 weeks in advance when I have to go to court. How am I going to pay that $200 ticket? So now I'm in fight or flight of the future. And this is why animals don't have bad tummies. They don't have digestive issues because they don't worry about the past and they don't fear the future. They're just fight or flight, done, back into relaxation, playing. Does that make sense? So when we're staying there all day long, we are breaking down our systems and we're communicating to the universe that our life is stressful. So we don't want you to be playing there all day long. We want you to learn about these brainwaves so that you go, oh, I'm in that fight or flight, I need to shift. Because again, any moment you can shift out of that. Okay? You can shift out of that brainwave manually. Because on autopilot, you'll stay there all day. And then when you lay down at night, your brain is like, oh, now I'm really going to get you because you're too tired to fight me off. Right? So we really got to manually shift out of that and move into a better feeling state. So the next one I'm going to talk to you guys about is alpha. Now a lot of people will tell you that when they meditate, they're in an alpha brainwave. I disagree with that. To me, when I see an alpha brainwave, it's hypnosis. It's hypnosis, like somebody's watching TV. Like right now, all of you are in an alpha brainwave. You're listening to me, hopefully. Somewhat. And you're recording. This is the universe's free will recording device. So there was this big study at Yale about 20 years ago where they put children of all different ages in a room with a TV, and they put the brainwave system on there to check where they went to the brainwaves as soon as the TV went on. Within 10 seconds, they were in an alpha brainwave. They went right into that hypnotic state of recording. Right? Everything that's coming from the TV is being downloaded into their subconscious mind all the time. Okay? And as children, we're always having to listen and learn. Okay, oh, I'm not doing that right. Okay. So they're constantly recording, constantly downloading, constantly downloading. Okay, and when you go and check out at night in front of the TV, you're literally downloading all of that information into your subconscious mind. And you're doing it with your own free will. And when you do it with your own free will, it gets to stay there, and it becomes your secret. Because you could literally fall asleep with a horror movie on and start having issues. They're not your issues, but they're recorded into your subconscious mind. Don't go to sleep with the news on. Right? Because again, when your back is turned, you're still downloading everything that people say. Right? Downloading all of that information on TV. Okay? Food has certain food is programmed to activate an alpha brainwave. Preservatives in foods. Immediately when they ingest into your system, your brain goes into an alpha, and you start, I need this. This makes me feel good. I like this. Okay? What's happening when you're an alpha brainwave is basically you are recording into the subconscious mind. You're downloading whatever information is coming in, and you're kind of just there without your own judgment, really. Okay, so I would call it recording without judgment. So if you're sitting here right now going, oh, I think she's kind of crazy, that's cool, because you're not necessarily absorbing. You're thinking. You're feeling your way through it. Okay? Does that make sense? So I don't recommend being in this particular state unless you are meditating. Like a guided meditation, downloading that information. Crystal bowl meditation, downloading that information. This would be a really powerful place to be. Now, it's not a huge playground like the theta is, because theta brainwave is the quantum field, and alpha is just I'm bringing everything into me, into my energy field. So if someone walks into your house and they're negative, right, and you're positive and you're happy and you walk in and you're like, great day, and then someone really negative walks into your space and you're just like, oh, I can't do anything. And then all of a sudden you feel yourself just becoming that energy, and all of a sudden then you become depressed, and then you become mad, and you fall into that misery with them. You have just been hypnotized by that negative energy. I know we can all have that experience of someone who's just been like overtaking our energy at times. It was because your free will was so entranced by it that it actually activated into you. Okay? Does that make sense? Are you following me okay? Any questions with that one?
Well, I have one.
Yeah.
What about we attract people acting a certain way? So if we're in a happy mood and they're in a crappy mood, did we actually attract them?
Of course, but that's a different class. That's Saturday. Okay, so the theta brainwave is really what we're talking about because that's where it's at. I would love for more people to spend less time in beta and less time in alpha and more time in gamma and theta, because that is what your soul is craving. Okay? As a practitioner who does healing sessions on you, as soon as they walk into the space, they move into a theta brainwave because then they have access to all the records. Okay? When you're doing a hypnosis session, we want to have you in the theta brainwave. We don't want to limit you to an old traditional style of hypnosis, which is you're recording information of what we tell you. No. We don't want to tell you what your soul already knows. We want to guide you to your own answers. So people who are doing hypnosis out there and they're putting you into a deep, deep trance of alpha brainwave, you're basically just going into the deep, deep, deep accounts of your past where there isn't ever going to be any answers there. There's just going to be information. We want to go to where the answers are, and we have to expand in order to get the answers, which means we have to tap into the quantum field. The quantum field has all of the answers. Okay? Now, the last one is delta waves, and the delta waves is where we really want you to spend at least 6 hours a night. This is your deep, deep, deep sleep. Okay? And this is the only thing, if you're not meditating, that can counteract this beta. Because when you're in this delta brainwave, you are detoxing, you're healing. All that blood gets to move back into your immune system and move back into your tummy and digest your food, right? Melatonin helps all of your muscles relax. It's like your little maid crew gets to run out and go, thank God, they're not thinking anymore, we can clean house. And so they start regenerating cells and get to do all these things because basically your mind is out of the way. That's what sleep is for. Your mind gets to go somewhere else, and the body gets to heal without you being an active component of attraction. So sleep is really important. If you're not sleeping, see us, because again, that's super, super important. Again, a lot of people are having trouble sleeping because of that monkey mind, right? They don't know how to turn it off because it's been going their whole lives. So that's really, really important that we actually get into that place, because another hormone that we're releasing there is DHEA, and this is our natural growth hormone that slows down aging. Okay? So it's helping us not age as quickly. It's helping rebuild all of our muscle tissue, and it's helping strengthen our bones. Okay? So, questions on the brainwaves? Just too heavy for Thursday night? Does that make sense? How all day long you're in a different brainwave. And all day long as you're in a different brainwave, your point of attraction becomes different, because you're either fight or flight, or you're in joy, or you're resisting, or you're being hypnotized. So if you're watching TV, you're being hypnotized. If you're meditating, you're expanding. Okay? So we're big advocates of meditation of any form you can, guided, MindFit, crystal ball, anything you can get your hands on. I don't care if you go to YouTube and get some, download some guided meditations. The reason I love guided meditations is because it gives your mind a job, right? Your mind goes, oh, I get to do something really cool. Otherwise, the mind's not going to give up. You try to stop thought, and it's going to go, I don't think so. Your leg is really itchy, and your phone is ringing, and your dog's trying to get in. So it's really important that you figure out how to make your mind part of the meditation and allow your mind to go with you while your body gets to slow down. Because if you look at this is a really super, super, super high frequency. Okay, that's why I had to draw those scrabbles. So this is basically what love and God look like. This would be the frequency of that. Okay? This one is beta, and it's really spiky, but it's very kind of random. Okay? Alpha is very just kind of slow and steady, and theta is really like long stretches in between, because again, you're kind of living between worlds there. This is really kind of where the soul resides, and this is where the excitement of all there is resides. So beta waves is where the fight or flight are. That's where most of you spend most of the day, which is not fun. So I would like to see you guys bouncing around. And you can actually try to figure this out. Like when you're driving your car, try to think, okay, where am I right now? Because you spend time in your beta brainwave long enough, you're going to start attracting things into your life that you don't want, because your brain is sending out a frequency that I'm stressed. Okay? Questions?
So on the like a scenario you said, when the cop pulls you over, you have that just stays with you, because. But if you are aware of it, because I've just recently been pulled over. But anyway, it's like, but if you can shift it into something that's more fun, more being in gratitude or something, just shift, is that enough to kind of dissipate all of that chemical stuff that's been kicked out of your body?
That's a great question, because what would you have to do in order to shift it? In order for you to stop thinking about what is, you would have to start thinking about what could be. And so you would have to go into a theta brainwave to use your imagination. Does that make sense? So you're shifting like that. So what I would do is I would get pulled over and I go, oh crap, right? What's going on? And I start to feel my blood pressure go, and the cold sweats happen, and everything that happens with getting pulled over. And then I would go, hold on. I'm telling the universe I'm stressed. I don't want to do that. What can I think of that would be better? I know. I'm going to go into my imagination. Okay, the spiritual definition of that word is I am magician, or an army of magicians, or a nation of magicians, imagination. Okay, so I would go into my theta brainwave, and I would slow myself down, and I would say, what could possibly be happening? What could be going on here? I know. I got pulled over because there's an accident on my way home, and my soul didn't want me to go to the accident, so I got pulled over instead. To me, I would rather play there, because that's way more fun, and then I'm grateful. Because anytime you can be grateful, actually, gratitude is gamma. As soon as you're grateful for anything, you go right up into gamma, because gratitude is the frequency of the God self. Okay? So if I could get grateful for being pulled over, then guess who just won? Me. Right? Now, that takes practice. But if you can manually shift yourself down here and move into imagination, that's what a child would do. Okay? So it's like, my daughter, so funny, she's 8. She's very in her imagination. We got stuck on the way home because there was snow happening, And she's like, oh, Mom, I really got to go to the bathroom. Like, don't know if I can hold it. I said, how can we make this a game? Right? Because you're not going in this car. That's not going to happen. You're too big for diapers. So she's like, okay. So she's like, jumps into her imagination. She's in a beta. She's freaking out. She jumps into her imagination. And she's like, okay, I'm a secret spy on a mission. And I can't let the bad guy see me, so I have to hold it. Right? And so she starts just telling me that she's a secret spy and that she's on this mission. And all of a sudden, by the time we got home, she wanted to stay in the car and finish telling me this. And I'm like, now I gotta pee. So, no, but it was so like, she just shifted and her whole body calmed down. And she was like, oh, I forgot I had to go.
So you can actually control your body.
Absolutely. But you can't when you're here. Because you know what? When you're here, you get more of this. When you're here, you get more of this. When you're here, you get more of this. You have to go, okay, I've been in autopilot, hop into the pilot seat, where do I want to go? Right? So long drives, I like to spend time in alpha, listening to seminars and workshops, because it helps me not go, oh, I'm not there yet. Right? Anytime you're feeling frustrated or on the defense, you always can jump into that theta brainwave anytime and move into your imagination where it's a lot more fun. And when it's a lot more fun, every cell of your body calms down. And if people would spend more time in their imagination and less time here, there would be no disease in the physical body. Because the physical body is a representation of this being too high. This brainwave is basically putting the body at not ease, dis-ease. So it's as simple as get out of beta and get into your imagination and start thinking about what you would prefer instead of what's happening, because this is what's happening. Circumstances. Sometimes there's nothing that we can do to circumstances. Sometimes we need to just stop. And again, if you can get into your theta, then you can shift that in a heartbeat, slow the body down, calm the system down, stop excreting the hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, and start actually moving into the dopamines and the feel-good hormones that are associated with our feelings. Okay? So back to the process of the hypnosis. The reason that we do this is because we would love for you not only to spend 5 hours in this feeling place, but clean up your whole timeline. Okay? Everybody has little blocks. And those blocks are not associated with what you're doing wrong now, ever. Right now, your conscious mind is like on point. It's ready to rock. It's ready to expand. It's ready for it to connect to its divine self. The things that are holding us back is the stuff from the past, or the stuff from the outer levels. Okay? So what we want to do is, I would call that integration. So what's happening from my perspective as a spiritual teacher is when I tap into the quantum field, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for probabilities. And I'm looking for probabilities of future outcome. Okay? So when I work with a client and they sit down in my chair, I look at their timeline, I look at past, present, and future, and I look at see where they are vibrating and see where they're heading and I see where they've been. And basically my job is to help them get on the road that they would prefer and help them clear up the blocks of the past. Okay? But in a session like this, you can do a huge amount of work in one day. And that's the beauty of it. You can really chip a lot of it away. Because there's really 3 steps to this awakening process. First, you wake up, you start asking the big questions like, who am I? Why am I here? Why are these my people, my family? Right? And then after you start asking those questions, you feel kind of lonely for a while. And then you go on your journey. And your journey looks like this. Like a roller coaster. I'm up and down, I'm high, I'm low, right? Well, the reason it's high and low is because of those shadows, or those secrets, or those things on your timeline that are holding you back. It's the time when you were 8 years old and you didn't get to go to that party, and now every time you feel that as an adult, you feel like that 8-year-old. So it's called the integration process. So the second step of awakening is integration. What we're supposed to be doing here is we're supposed to create holistic beings. And holistic beings are healed beings. Okay? We cannot be healed in the present if our inner child isn't healed, if our past lives aren't healed. Because again, they are us. And they are a product of our energy field. Okay? And they are stopping the flow of energy for our now. And the now is the only thing we care about because, again, that's the only place we get to play. But we get to go into the session and we get to go anywhere we want from the now perspective. Does that make sense? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Susie?
So if you spend a lot of time watching like the fun kitty cat babies laughing and whatnot on YouTube, or just funny comedy shows and whatnot, are you still in that beta wave?
Are you in beta when you're
Yeah.
watching kittens?
Well, you're watching TV. You had said when you watch TV, right? You're in beta.
Okay, wait, you're in, no, you're not in beta. Beta is when you're on the defense. When you're driving home,
okay.
when you're in a work session, when you're having to do things, right? You're talking about alpha.
Okay.
Alpha
Sorry,
is that
I should put my
hypnotic
glasses on. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Alpha is hypnotic state. And I will tell you, if you went into like 10 hours of YouTube videos, yeah. But again, if you're just watching a 3-minute clip here and there to get your vibration raised, then no, you wouldn't go into a trance because you'd be actively responding. When you laugh, you're not being hypnotized, you're interacting. When you're going, oh, he's so cute, you're interacting, you're not being hypnotized. It's only when you zone out and 2 Cheeto bags later, you're like, where am I? That God knows what's in your subconscious at that point. Viagra. Right? So that's what I'm talking about, is watch that. Also, people are very hypnotic. Food is very hypnotic. Okay? And when you're being hypnotized by a person or place, a thing, you're moving into this alpha brainwave. And from my perspective, being an intuitive, what I've seen a lot of times is when people when they go unconscious, okay? When they go completely unconscious, that tape record doesn't stop. And here's a perfect example of a story that I actually just put together a few years ago. Is I had a best girlfriend growing up in elementary school, and when we were 10 years old, she got into a horrific car accident. Horrific. Like brain damage, the whole works. And she was on life support, she was in a coma. Finally, she moved off of life support into a coma for about 6 months, and then actually came out of it on her 11th birthday. But when she came out of it, she had a British accent. And she's not British. One of her eyes was green, and one of them was blue. Explain that. Right? So my whole life I'm going, how did she get British? No fair. I want to get British. Right? You know what I mean? It was just crazy. Like I couldn't figure it out until I started studying all this like subconscious work. And basically, it's so funny how things like you need answers and you get the questions answered eventually. I'm still friends with her older sister on Facebook. And so a few years back, like this just popped into my mind. I decided that I was going to get a hold of her sister and ask her a bunch of questions about this. Well, it finds out that her doctor that she worked with was her active doctor on staff was British for 6 months, who took care of her. Okay? And he had a dog with a green eye and a blue eye. And he would always talk about this dog. And she's like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. So just subconscious programming changed her biochemistry. Coincidence? I think not.
A friend whose mom that happened to, and she started speaking French.
Yep.
And it was wow. There was a whole news story on it.
Crazy.
Crazy.
So again, when you're unconscious and you're recording, you don't know the difference between if that's happening or if that's happening to you. So if you go to sleep with Lord of the Rings, you're going to wake up looking for the ring. Eventually. Right? So you're going to start entering that stuff into your being. Right? That's going to take on a personality of yourself. Like my daughter went through this phase, she's 17 now, and she's like obsessed with horror movies. Well, guess what? Now she's seeing ghosts. Right? Whatever you invite into your reality will become part of your reality. It's just part of it. It's just part of the subconscious mind. And we don't realize the subconscious mind isn't necessarily an evil thing. It's just been recording since the day you were conceived. Since the day you were a little less than a zygote. It's been recording. And so everything that mom had going on in the womb, every time she felt fear, that was downloaded into your DNA. Anybody here familiar with the work of Bruce Lipton? Okay, so Bruce Lipton is a famous geneticist, and he talks about DNA, turning it off and on, and how to reprogram it. And this would be a perfect example. In order for her eye color to change and her voice to change, her DNA had to get reprogrammed.
Is that like epigenetics?
It is.
Okay.
So epigenetics is basically the reprogramming of your DNA
Okay.
through subconscious and conscious programming. So affirmations would be one way. You say something long enough, it becomes you. Right? I am thin and beautiful. Eventually, if you buy it, it's going to happen. Okay? Does that make sense? So this is all connected to a bigger piece of the pie, which is really about you becoming more whole and more aware of who you are. Because if you can kind of understand the things that are keeping you held back, you won't be in mystery. I always say the worst thing about life is the mystery, is the not knowing, is like, why is this or why is that? Once you know, it's like you're no longer ignorant to yourself. Like, oh, okay, I realize the reason I date losers is because my dad wasn't there for me. I get it. Right? And it's not psychology, it's time. Because again, every single time that you've had a trauma in your life, and a trauma could literally be not getting the candy at the candy store when you're 6 years old, you're holding that in time and space. You're that 6-year-old who doesn't get what she wants. And then as a 35-year-old, you don't get the job you want. Right? So mad. Like you've been mad this whole time. So what we want to do is, knowing that time isn't really real, is that we want to bring all of these pieces of ourselves back together, and we want to integrate them into our being so we have one holistic unit. Because you're never really going to feel happy unless you're healed. How many of you have beautiful homes and great jobs and loved ones and you're not happy? Like, answer me that, right? How can you have these things that are wonderful in your life and you still not happy? Well, I can guarantee you it's those inner child, it's those past lives that are still highly upset with you. And not you, but upset that they didn't get their way. Okay? So hypnosis is a process of doing a really, really quick integration of past, present, future into the self, channeling that higher version of you, and then giving you the big answers to the questions that you have. Instead of running to a psychic and getting tarot cards or having someone go into your Akashic records, you're literally going into your own records and you're saying the words of your own truth. Because again, it isn't about us telling you who you are. And see, that's the difference between, I always say the difference between necessarily therapy and life coaching is because therapy is really, really awesome about how to get you to cope with your past. I don't want to cope with the past, I want to change it. I want to heal it. Right? I want to propel into the future. So life coaching is more of like, okay, this suffering made you great. Now we're going to clean it up, and you're going to use that energy to understand the human condition, to understand suffering, so that you can be a teacher. Right? So everything is really important, that nothing that you've gone through is unhealable. But you have to be aware of it in order to heal it. And if you're not aware of what's holding you back, then you're always going to be really kind of unhappy in the now. Okay?
Can you do this like kids?
No. 18 years old for this session. But we do a lot of kids meditation stuff here, and a lot of like mind, brain gym type of activities here to get them moving. Because here's the thing is until 7 years old, they're naturally right here most of the day. They only go here to hit their sister, and then they're back here. Right? It's like, I'm always here. Like, my daughter is pretty much in her imagination unless she's brushing her teeth or doing something. So we don't really need to worry about them so much. But Transcendence is actually opening a school that is going to be dedicating the curriculum to getting this healed and handled earlier. So I would like to be put out of job. You know what I mean? So it's like, if we can get the kids to the point where, see, they intuitively know this. They're not the ones who are holding on to the past. Kids are not holding on to the past. They're just observing. They're in alpha, listening to mom, be in fear, and they're in theta pretty much all day long, and then up here occasionally. And then they're in gamma a lot, because gamma is like, really, they're still connected to the natural state of being. It isn't until age 7 that starts to shift a bit. And as you look back in your life, everything has been in 7-year cycles. So at age 7 is where the shift starts to happen, and they start to kind of like act a little bit more grown up, start demanding like cars and credit cards. Oh no, this is my kids. You know what I mean? It's like they really start to go, oh, I'm not this baby anymore. But, mine, we really, 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 really impacted imagination into all of our parenting. Like, everything is a game in our house, even cleaning. We have to sing Mary Poppins, whatever. It gets done. But they're learning to take that into finding challenges for problems. Because instead of them staying in beta and punching someone out, they're going into theta and they're finding the resolution. Because again, Einstein says you can't find a problem in the problem. Well, if you're in beta, that's the problem. So in order to find a solution to any problem, you have to move and shift into your imagination.
So once you go into the session and you're being, doing all of this,
Yes.
then in order to heal, do you actually come and go through your heart center?
Do you go through your heart center? Well, your heart center is open. You don't go through it. Your heart is the seat of the soul. Okay? So, yeah, you'll be doing some chakra healing. It's a whole energetic. Again, we're talking quantum, so there's no limits. So we could be healing the biochemistry. We could be healing the etherical body. We could be healing the emotional body. We've had people who literally have screamed out in pain because they feel like a knife is being removed from their body during these sessions. Right? So I know that I had some extreme pain that I processed through my session, and nothing was happening. I wasn't being stabbed. So it was me reliving something that was... See, that's the thing that we need to understand, and is that everything that has ever happened to you has also happened to your body. Okay? So your body has what's called cellular memory. And cellular memory holds the evidence of a memory. Okay? And that's why when you see something creepy crawly, you start itching, even though it's not on you. You're having a biochemical reaction to something that you're witnessing versus what's actually happening to you, right? You've all experienced that? Where you get the EBGBs, right? That's your body remembering what it would feel like to have a spider on them. Oh, now it's on me. Now it's all over me, right? So we're feeling that sensation of that spider being on us at one point, or watching a movie where a spider was on someone, or seeing someone else who had a spider on them, and our body just learned by default. So the body is coded with every single memory that you've ever had, and unfortunately every lifetime you've had, because the body is a multi-dimensional creature. This body is not as human as you think it is. These chakras that are involved are vortexes of energy, and these vortexes of energy actually hold the frequencies of the entire universe. So the cells are not just holding the memory of what is going on and what has gone on in this life. It's holding the memory of what's gone on in all of your lives. And that's why she had the migraines.
See, my daughter has eczema, and I'm almost positive it's a cellular memory.
It is.
Because we have gone down every other road.
Yeah, it is.
And so that's why I was wondering,
Yeah. And honestly, come to some of the kids' classes. I can teach you how to move her into Theta and have her do her own healing cycle, because kids heal like that. Right? My son was born with eczema. The first thing I thought is, okay, burn in another life. Right? So a lot of times if there's burn that's happened, it'll stay someplace on the body.
It could be trauma too, right?
Mm-hmm. Friction between people can cause eczema in another life. Again, everything is very symbolic in the planet. It's like eczema, what does it represent? Itchy, don't feel good in your own skin, maybe didn't feel good in his own skin or her own skin. So again, it's always related to the issue that you're having in your body. If you just can't, no matter what, the doctor can't figure it out and the creams doesn't work, first and foremost, get into this brainwave, because again, when you're in this theta brainwave and when you're in gamma, spontaneous healing can occur, and you don't have to do anything. At Yale University now, they're teaching mindfulness, and mindfulness is the process of basically being aware of everything in your life. And the first semester of this course is strictly fairy tales at Yale University. Why? Because they're trying to wake you up to what imagination is, because if you can't get into your imagination, you're not going to be mindful. We think that being in our imagination is irresponsible. Oh, if I'm in my imagination, I'm not doing what's needed to be done. But that's where you are when you're doing what needs to be done. You're sending a frequency that, no fair, all I have to do is what I don't want to do this. Shoulds do. Like, how many hours of this day did you do something for you? Did you visualize this morning? Did you write in your gratitude journal? Or were you spending most of your day here? Because if you're spending most of your day here, I can guarantee you've got pain in your body, you've got headaches, you're not sleeping well, you've got stress, you've got tummy trouble, little metabolism issues, and it could be worse. And to me, that's not me being a doctor, that's just me being a biochemist that says, you're not spending enough time in your imagination where all the magic happens. So when anybody goes and gets training on becoming a healer, whatever, Reiki, quantum healing, hypnosis, they have to awaken their imagination in order to get the energy to flow. Because that's the space where all the magic is, the space between worlds, the space between spirit and body. So another thing too is eat early, because you're not going to eat for 5 hours and we want your blood sugar normal. Drink water. You'll be going to the bathroom before. Have a ride pickup. The best thing that I could recommend is you don't necessarily need to prepare. You just need to have your questions, and you need to have a ride. And you need to have that entire day just for you. So we have specific tone and certain words that we say to you to keep you moving on your timeline to go to exactly where you need to go in order to lock the secrets and the answers for yourself. And we never know what is going to show up. It's always different. It's always crazy. So, we never know what's going to happen. We always know that you're getting exactly what you need, even if you're not sure. Like, you could go in there going, I know I was this person. I know I was this person. And your soul's like, of course you know you're that person. So we're going to go into this lifetime where you were picking potatoes. You're like, what? Right? So you never know. But again, it's where your soul wants you to go in order to get the healing that's affecting you now. Because it's all about this now. Okay. Well, thank you guys all for coming.